Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. Hello. Do you know anything about astronomy?
I know nothing about astronomy, sorry.
Oh, well, let's see how it goes today then. Where are you from?
My name is Terence. I am from Madrid, Spain. I am 42 years old.
Wow, you know, I haven't been to the center of Spain. I've only been to the coast.
Well, I think the coast is the best place in Spain.
Yeah. I went to Alicante last time, and I like the seaside. Big streets on the seaside. Which places would you recommend on the coast?
Valencia. Valencia is a very cheap city with a very large beach, and people over there is very nice. The city is not very expensive. You can you can live there by the sea, and you even will save a lot of money if you compare with Madrid or Barcelona. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't really thought about Valencia, but let me ask you one question about Valencia, because sometimes if you go to a cheap area, you find some people who are not so good, maybe some antisocial behavior and problems like this. What do you think about the people who live in Valencia?
No, they are very open-minded. They are very friendly people, because I don't know how to say, they like to share all these fraternities and sororities. They enjoy a lot with firecrackers. You know what I mean? And they have las fallas. Las fallas is like thousands of firecrackers exploding on at the same time along a week, and it's a major party in Valencia town. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
Valencian are very friendly people, and you know that they over there they have a very important university. They have a very big, huge complex of different universities, and Valencia is full of young people from England, from Switzerland, from Italy. They are on Erasmus scholarship. So it's a very open-minded city, and a very quiet, and it's a very nice place. I would recommend.
But sometimes I like to go to a city where there's a lot of things happening for young people, but sometimes I like to go to somewhere where it's not all nightclubs and late night music. I like some peace and quiet too. So
Yeah.
is Valencia good for this too?
Yeah, you have both sizes, because Valencia is full of attraction for young people, but it is almost a city built up for couple. You know what I mean? For couple with children. In the old river there is an old river who crossed the city, but that river caused 40 years ago. That river flooded the city. So there were
Flooded.
flooded the city, yeah, and there were almost 100 deaths. That person. So now the river has been dry up.
How long ago was that?
50 years ago, I think at the beginnings of the 70s.
Wow.
So now in the river, the river is a large park. You know what I mean? A large garden.
Whoa.
For children with tennis court, with soccer fields, with running for older people. You can do jogging, you can do cycling. Valencia is a very familiar and foster city. If you are looking
When you say familiar, do you mean it's family orientated?
Family orientated to yeah.
Wow. You know, I like the idea of this. I think I will take a look, check it out.
I recommend.
Yeah, thanks for that. I will. So, okay, well, let's see where we are now. Who else is here? Adela, hi.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm just going to say hi for now because I want to see who's here. David, are you here?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Hazel, I know you're here. Good.
Yes.
Although, Hazel, I didn't see you on the mic for quite a long time on Verbling, but now I do. So, Maria, you're here, are you? Maria Rodriguez? Not sure if you're here. And Rasal, are you here?
Yes. Hello, teacher.
Hi there. Good. Good to have you in the room. Good. I want people who are really here. Because, you know, when we have a lot of... I'll say dead wood. Dead wood is kind of it, like in the forest when you have to clear out the wood which is not alive. People just sitting here, they take up the seats, and we want everybody to be active and participating. So if you're not active, I'm going to ask you to wait outside and listen. Victoria, are you active here? So I have a question about Maria and Victoria. Are you here? You can write to me if you say you're active. Are you here really? No? Maria, you're here. Are you going to say hello, Maria? Is there any reason why you can't say hello? If you're really just listening, then you shouldn't really be in the room. But are you trying to get the mic or anything? Victoria. Are you here, Victoria? Right, so come on, if I don't hear from you soon, then you're going to have to be outside. So now, Adela, let's ask you, does anybody know anything about astronomy? Who knows a bit about astronomy?
Astronomy is the knowledge of stars and their movement.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that, isn't it? Can you tell me some more?
It's a physical... a physical part of the with the study this sky in general, but is different to the astrology.
So it's a kind of scientific study of some
science. It's a science.
Now, actually, the word astrology is an interesting word because I said astrology just now. Let me ask you one question. It's a trick question. I asked you a trick question earlier about Northern Ireland and Ireland. Does anybody remember my trick question about Northern Ireland and Ireland?
Yes, I remember.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another trick question. That trick question, Hazel, can you tell everybody that trick question? Ask them.
About Northern Ireland and Ireland. You asked if which one is in the north of the island.
Actually, I
And,
asked which one stretches or reaches furthest north. That's the point, yes.
stretches. And the Ireland is the answer. And
And
Ireland is the answer.
yes, and
Not
here
Northern
comes another
Ireland.
trick question, and Ife knows the answer, so she can't answer that one. Are you ready for a trick question, everybody? Question is about Greenwich. Greenwich Observatory. The question is it one of Britain's astrological institutions? Greenwich Observatory, is it one of Britain's astrological institutions? Yes or no?
I should say yes, but probably no.
Well, I'll write it down, and then Hazel, you might see the trick. So it was about Greenwich. Notice the pronunciation of Greenwich, not Greenwich. Greenwich. Greenwich Mean Time. Greenwich Observatory. I'm writing about this, Greenwich Observatory. Question, true or false? It is a British
Astronomy.
astrological institution.
Yes.
No, astronomy.
It's not true, it's false.
Astronomy, not
I have
astrology.
a man died a little while ago, and his name was Patrick Moore. He was really amazing astronomer, not astrologer. So Hazel, what is an astrologer as compared to an astronomer?
An astrologer is a person who studies stars and is related to horoscope, I believe.
Horoscopes, yes. So he made this question in his book, which I'm going to try and find, his questions about astronomy, and one of the questions was this, and the answer was false. Astrology is a superstitious idea that you can predict your life and outcome from the position of the stars. Some people might say there is some truth in it, but anyway, he said it's superstition. So let's go. Abo Faris, are you on the mic here, Abo?
Yes.
Let's get started then. Could you start reading for me about Copernicus? First of all, do you know anything about this man? Have you heard about Copernicus?
No, not really.
When I was at school, we used to make jokes about him. We used to think that some of his underwear was particularly heavy and metallic. But so, would you like to read a little bit about him, please? Could you, Abo? Could you just read and let's learn a little bit about this man?
From the beginning?
Yeah, read 1.1.
Okay. Nicholas Copernicus was frightened and his mind was confused. Although he had tried to ignore them, all his mathematical calculation led to the same conclusion, that the Earth was not the center of the solar system. Only if you put the sun there did the movement of the other planets in the sky make sense. Yet he could not tell anyone about his theory, as the powerful Christian church would have punished him for even suggesting such an idea. They believed God had made the world, and for that reason the Earth was special and must be the center of the solar system.
Great. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to just mark some words and let's look. Yeah, we've got some verbs. So how did we read this one?
Frightened.
Frightened, yes, and confused. So Nicholas Copernicus was frightened and his mind was confused. Although he had tried to ignore them, all his mathematical calculations led to the same conclusion, that the Earth was not the centre of the solar system. Only if you put the sun there did the movements of the other planets in the sky make sense. Yet he could not tell anyone about his theory, as the powerful Christian Church would have punished him for even suggesting such an idea. They believed God had made the world, and for that reason the Earth was special and must be the centre of the solar system. Okay, so now, next, Abo, we usually choose a word and don't tell anybody. I will show you. I'm going to choose a word and not tell anybody which word I'm thinking about. And then I'm going to describe the word that I'm thinking about. So, my word. It's something you do to somebody, maybe to prevent them from doing something wrong, or to...
Punishment?
Yes, punishment, punished. Yeah, punished. Okay, Abo, can you do this, please? Can you find one word from the first paragraph, any word, and then describe it to us, and we will guess which word it is.
Conclusion.
So how would you describe conclusion?
Conclusion, the last one, or the for the end.
It's like a thought that you finally come to at the end. Yes. Now do it again, but this time you don't tell us. This time find a word, but don't tell us your word. Just give us just the description of the word, and we will find it.
Planets.
Yeah, and what does that mean? I think I know your word. Planets. Is it so? The meaning is your word planets? Your word is planets. Abo?
Planets. It means the Earth, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now listen, please try to do one without telling me the word. So notice I will do one, I won't tell you. My word is things not static, but changing position.
Movements.
Movements, yes. So Abo, can you do it like this? Don't tell the word to everybody, and they find the word. Once more, can you try another word?
Okay. Something. So in the middle.
And what does it mean? In the middle. It means in the middle. Maybe center.
Center, that's right.
Yeah, good. Okay, right. Well done. So now, so he had a problem. Do you know, Abo, anybody else who's had a similar problem to Copernicus here? I can think of maybe Charles Darwin, because some people even today believe that he was crazy, and their interpretation of Genesis is slightly different. Actually, Charles Darwin didn't really disagree with the books, the older books, which I think is not just the Christian Bible, but other books also about God creating everything. He didn't really disagree with it, and he went to church, but he still had a problem with this, even today. So do you know anybody else, Abu, who has a problem with their ideas because maybe authority might not agree with them?
I don't really.
No. And does anybody else know anybody?
Yeah.
Galileo.
Can you tell me about him?
Yeah, I think he discovered he made a telescope and has seen the movements, but the church was not ready to accept in his theory, and he was punished to death, I think.
Right. So he actually to do with the same aspects of science and astronomy, but I would pronounce his name. You know, sometimes we have words in English. It's interesting. We have words in English which are really common in English, and even famous people's names. And I would say Galileo. You know, like, there's a song, isn't there? Galileo. So I would say Galileo there. But what about in a different field? Does anybody know anybody in a completely different field of endeavour, something else? So I mentioned Darwin. He was evolution. He had this problem. And Copernicus had it with a problem with the church as well. Maybe it's not just the church, but with any kind of authority. Does anybody have any other case like this?
Martin Luther.
Martin Luther? Tell me more about that, because that's... I'm thinking now. Martin Luther.
Newton.
Actually, he refused the dogmatic way of the church, the Catholic Church, so he made he showed a new system to them, and how can I say that? Showed a new declaration and put that on a church's door. I don't know how to say that. But after that, he started a revolution, and it changed the whole Europe.
Yeah. So we've got 3 or 4 different people we've just mentioned now. That's good. So let me move on, because we've only read paragraph 1. So let's see, short paragraph. So I'm going to find somebody who we haven't heard before. David, are you there to read?
Yes.
Take the second paragraph then, please.
Okay, the problem arose because astronomers had noticed that some planets in the sky seemed to stop, move backward, and then go forward in a loop. Others appeared brighter at times and less bright at others. This ways was very strange in the Earth was the center of the solar system, and all planets went around it.
Yeah, this is interesting. Now, but by the way, when you read some of the O sounds, noticed wants to be a bit of a, not noticed, but noticed. Now, the problem arose because astronomers had noticed that some planets in the sky seemed to stop, move backward, and then go forward in a loop. So, why were they doing that? David, why were they moving like this in the sky, left and right? Do you have any idea about that, David? Can you explain to me why they were moving like this? Stopping,
I
going
don't
left?
have any idea.
Does anybody have a way of telling me what's happening there?
Maybe because of the apparent motion of the Earth to those stars.
Ah, that's interesting. So the Earth is moving around in an orbit.
Yep.
So orbit.
And they are moving on the same direction, but the Earth is moving a little faster. But then the circle turned and those stars crossed the Earth. So that's why they are looking in that they stop and just move around in a loop.
I was thinking about the orbit of the planets themselves, but also we have the orbit of Earth as well. And so everything is orbiting. We have orbits inside orbits. And if you... What's the problem then if we try to map everything with the Earth in the center?
Because Earth is moving all the time and you cannot put them in just one spot. It's dynamic.
Yeah, too dynamic and too complicated, and I think that some people actually tried to map it and tried to actually make this model, but it proved to be rather awkward and difficult. But when Galileo pointed out that maybe the solar system was centered at the sun, then it made things a bit simpler. Okay, let's move on to Furkan. Can you read 1.3 if I just move the screen down a bit?
Copernicus had thought long and hard about these problems and tried to find an answer. He had collected observations of the stars and used all his mathematical knowledge to explain them, but only his new theory could do that. So between 1510 and 1514 he worked on it, gradually improving his theory until he felt it was complete.
Great, so he carried on regardless, and probably decided to present it, but maybe he didn't have the courage to present it. So what would you do in this situation, Furkan, if you had this strong belief, but maybe you had a good job with the government and the church, and would you keep quiet about it, or what do you think you would do?
It's a very hard decision, especially in my situation. I don't know, probably I wouldn't do that, the same thing that Copernicus did.
I think it depends, doesn't it? Depends on your personal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your life could be ruined.
I think I would try to get somebody else to accept the idea, a few other people first. I might spend 1 or 2 years just trying to discuss it with some of my best friends. Let's see what he did. 1.4 now. So if I move down, something like that he does. Let's see. So, Hazel, could you read 1.4?
Yes. In 1514 he showed it privately to his friends. The changes he made to the old theory were revolutionary. He placed a fixed sun at the center of the solar system, with the planets going round it and only the moon still going round the Earth. He also suggested that the Earth was spinning as it went round the sun, and this explained changes in the movement of the planets and in the brightness of the stars. His friends were enthusiastic and encouraged him to publish his ideas, but Copernicus was cautious. He did not want to be attacked by the Christian Church, so he only published it as he lay dying in 1543.
So he was quite cautious himself and careful about this. Yeah. Now, just at this point, I'd like to ask you to give me some vocabulary. So, can you text me some words which relate to circular movement or the path of a circular movement, or not quite a circular movement? You know, sometimes the... so we start with orbit. We've got orbit.
Orbit, going round.
Going round. And also when something has an axis within the body, spinning, yes. So spinning is an interesting word. I always think about spinning wheels, and spinning is not what the same as going round in an orbit. So elliptical, yes. Elliptical. So not quite a perfect circle, but an ellipse. And orbit, and okay, good. So we've got ellipse, orbit, and another word to do with spinning. What's another more scientific word for spinning on an axis? So what does the Earth do every day? Once.
Revolve.
Revolving.
Revolve is good,
Or
yes.
rotate,
Or
or
rotate.
rotate.
Those two words, yes. That reminds me of the joke. What do you think about those peasants, King? The king says, "Look at them, I think they're revolting."
This is another word, revolting. Rebellious. They are rebellious.
They are rebellious, yes. They're revolting, aren't they? They're not very nice. So, let's move on. 1.5. I think we're done in a minute. Then we've got to think of what else to do with this lesson, because we've got... I think we'll ask you some questions after this. and go back and look at some of the words. So first of all, let me find somebody to read the end. So, Hipfei, are you there to read? Would you fancy reading this 1.5?
Yes, I'm here.
You're scared,
Okay.
I notice, because you're worried about what I'm going to say. Okay.
Yes, I'm really, to be honest, I think I really lost some of my confidence the last time. I don't know why, but however, okay. Certainly he was right to be careful. The Christian Church rejected his theory, saying it was against God's idea and people who supported it would be attacked. Yet Copernicus' theory is now the basis on which all our ideas of the universe are built. His theory replaced the Christian idea all of gravity, which said things fell to Earth because God created the Earth as the center of the universe. Copernicus showed his way obviously wrong. Now people can see that there is a direct link between his theory and the work of Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking. I had to be careful with Albert Einstein, not to read it in the German way.
How do you read it in German?
Albert Einstein.
Yeah. You know, when you're reading about the theory on the third line on the screen, you didn't, for me, catch the possessive. Can you try and just say that sentence which starts after attacked?
Ah, Copernicus's theory.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I missed that.
Copernicus's theory.
That's right.
People often miss those. That's why I wanted to make sure that we pointed it out, because
Yes.
when you miss them, it doesn't really stop us from reading it. So we've got two possessives here. We've got God's idea, and that one was naturally right. But sometimes it seems to be when the form is with the S at the end, because
Yes.
in the advanced book for IELTS, there's at the beginning of the course there is a text about the circus, and the sentence is the circus is blue and white tent, or something like this, a marquee. And no, it's not going. Yes, there it goes. The circuses, and some people miss those. The circuses, blue and white tent. Right. So, in terms of vocabulary, maybe this article is not so difficult. What do you think? Did you notice any new words at all? In all of it? Let me see. Let me just have a quick consensus and see how many new words there are. So, paragraph 1. Can anybody see any new words?
No.
Nicholas Copernicus was frightened and his mind was confused. Although he had tried to ignore them, all his mathematical calculations led to the same conclusion, that the Earth was not the centre of the solar system. Only if you put the sun there did the movements of the other planets in the sky make sense. Yet he could not tell anyone about his theory, as the powerful Christian Church would have punished him for even suggesting such an idea. They believed God had made the world, and for that reason the Earth was special and must be the centre of the solar system. This word actually is quite commonly mispronounced. So this is Earth, and the key vowel sound here is like bird and sir, Earth. And I think one of the most common mispronunciations of this is earth, like this. Sounds a bit like chair, too much like chair. So we have and I think people, is Igor here? Igor? No, he's not here at the moment, but it seems that in Moscow it's difficult to say like this, earth. Is there anybody from Russia here today in the room?
No.
No, not right now. But Terence, you haven't read anything. Can I just hear your reading, please? Because you're a very good speaker, but I'd like to hear a little bit of your reading. Could you read 1.1 through?
1.1, 1.2?
Well, the one that's on the screen now, 1.1.
Okay, Nicolas, from Nicolas Copernicus. Okay. Nicholas Copernicus was frightened and his mind was confused. Although he had tried to ignore them, all his mathematical calculation led to the same conclusion, that the Earth was not the center of the solar system. Only if you put the sun there did the movements of the other planets in the sky make sense. Yet he could not yet tell anyone about his theory, as the powerful Christian Church would have punished him for even suggesting such an idea. They believed God had made the world, and for that reason the Earth was special and must be the center of the solar system.
Yeah, you just need to watch a few of your vowel sounds. So powerful, not powerful, and punished, and world, and system. So sometimes you read quite well, a little quickly. If you were going to read on CNN or something, you need to slow down a little bit, I think. But, well, actually, you can read quickly, but when you pick up speed, you need to watch things a bit. You have to try to be a little bit better with intonation to get your speed up. Otherwise, people will be confused. So, okay, that's good. So, that's done really, isn't it? So let's just check. Before we leave it, I just want to check that we've got every word. So I think we have. Nothing difficult in that, in 2. Sometimes we say backwards, sometimes we say backward. It seems, I generally say backwards and forwards. Move forward. I'm not sure. Sometimes I might ask a bunch of people to move forward a bit. Move forwards. Sometimes I'm not really sure exactly what the difference is between backwards and backward without the S. They're quite similar. Probably if you look them up in the dictionary there won't be a difference really. So there we've got no difficult words at all. So I think it would be good to maybe move on and read something else about science then. So, or discuss astronomy. So, who knows the name of any other astronomers? They've mentioned Einstein and Hawking as physicists, maybe, more than astronomers. So, physicists, maybe, astronomers, other scientists. How many can we name? Is there anybody who's also related? Galileo is related to this, isn't he? Galileo. What did Galileo do? Does anybody know about Galileo's contributions? What was his contribution? Or even Isaac Newton. Can anybody tell me about the contribution of any particular man towards this area?
Newton is a gravitational theory.
So can you tell me about Newton? What do you know about Newton? I remember, I know a few things about Newton's, and I remember Newton's laws. Do you know anything about Newton? He was English, I know. Which country did Copernicus come from?
By the name, it looks like from Greece.
Is it Greece, Italy, or Spain, or is it? I don't know.
Roman.
It does look a bit Roman, doesn't it? So it doesn't mention where he was born.
Poland.
Polish. Yes, I remember now. I'd forgotten about that. So it's from Poland. So who was talking about Newton? Does anybody know about Newton?
Yeah, I studied formulas, but I don't know how can I explain it here.
Do you know what F equals ma means?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that then?
Yeah, force equals mass, and I can't remember the A.
Acceleration. Okay, tell us a bit about Newton, please, Furkan. So, we've got one of the rules. I don't remember which it is. Force equals mass times acceleration.
Okay, and as far as I know, it was the one of the most important positions that supports classic physics, just quite opposite of the Albert Einstein position. because Albert Einstein's theories actually it kind of refutes classic physics because it says it's.
That's interesting because I always think that they extend it and they view Newtonian physics as mechanics, simple mechanics of motion, as laws which were correct in a sense, but maybe they don't encompass the universe and they only work in our locality. So, but you think that maybe they conflict each other to a greater extent?
They're both working at some points, but when it comes to light, the light particles, everything mixes up because some physicians says light goes like a wave, and some physicians says light goes like a particles, and
some physicians say
says it goes like a wave, and if you say wave, and the problem is there are many experiments that shows it goes like a wave, but there are also many research that proves it goes like a particle, so they don't know how exactly it goes. It's very confusing.
Sometimes I think that as humans, we all tend to want to compartmentalize things, and we kind of invent structures and then try to fit things into the structures. So when we use words like waves and particles and then try to think about those ideas, it makes us make mistakes, or causes us to make mistakes, and we can't quite see things properly because we always like to have this kind of rigid framework all the time. You know, like birds building nests, we have to have everything in the right place, and we have to be happy with things as we think they are. What do you think about that? Do you think there's a problem with us like that sometimes?
Are you asking like
the way we think as humans? You know, because don't you think, how should we investigate things? I don't know, but
when we approach some things in a scientific way, sometimes it doesn't work like it happens in the light or other kind of stuff like biology. Sometimes you cannot explain how it happens as it happens.
Yeah, I remember some physics experiments at school. Did you ever get the chance at school to have any kind of experiments?
Yes, but not very great experiments. There were.
One I remember, I'll tell you one, and then you can maybe tell me one that you've had. One was about Newton, and we wanted to measure the acceleration of gravity, which we called G. Did you have any kind of experiment for this? To find out how fast things start to accelerate?
Yes. Actually, we were working, we focused on formulas, not just experiments, because, I don't know, they put a system and they working on that system, not in the real life. Because if you put that in the real life, there are many exceptions, like we accept gravity is 10, but it's not 10, it's 9.8. And we know, but we don't use that in real life. Maybe it's the problem.
But how can you measure things? So, for example, I saw a comedian in London on the stage, and he was speaking about some of this and said that he was speaking about, for example, a firework. When a firework goes bang, you don't hear the sound for a second because the sound takes a while to travel to you in a wave, and you see the flash silently, and then later you hear a big bang. And he said that's because light is much faster than sound. It's very fast. And he said, let me just show you. And he shone his torch at the wall and said, yes, see, it's that fast. And when we measured the acceleration of gravity, we dropped a ball tied to a tape. Have you done this experiment? Has anyone done an experiment like this?
Newton have a problem with the apple incident with a tree. No, is the most the relation with Newton and gravity. Gravity is the apple.
So what do you think happened there with the apple when it fell on his head? I've often thought about this situation and the famous story of him sitting under a tree. And I wonder what he was doing under that tree and how that story came to be. What do you think originated this story? I mean, but do you think that he was sitting under a tree, relaxing, reading a book or watching people or something, and then an apple fell on his head, and then he started to think about that, or well?
Eureka, no? This is, I think, is a history because Newton is a scientist. I think it's only a tree is not possible to have a gravitational law. It's not. It's possible, I think, to start another research in this field.
Well, I haven't read about this. I've been told the story from a very young age. I've heard the story about two apples, actually. One was an apple placed on the head of a boy that William Tell shot with a bow and arrow, and I thought, he's a crazy man. But when I heard the story about Sir Isaac Newton and the apple falling on his head, I wondered if he made it all up and just as a kind of symbol, like Furkan was saying, some kind of way of just getting people interested. I thought maybe that was it. Sometimes I just make up my own mind about what happened and I just move on. So even with things like the religious texts, for example, I was talking to my wife last night about the Garden of Eden because I was watching David Attenborough and I was watching programs about how we're destroying the world and burning all the oil and drilling up all the water from under the desert and everything. And I was thinking about my interpretation of that story and how we could all, for me, I think if we all live together in perfect harmony, then we could have a great time on this planet. And I took it that way. But I take things my own way sometimes without... and I wondered how you took it, the apple. Do you think that the apple landed on his head and it suddenly prompted him to think about it? Or do you think he kind of made up this story just to get people thinking? And maybe it came from somebody else, I don't know.
Actually, I saw a caricature that shows first the watermelon falls down and he doesn't look at. Then a bicycle falls down, he doesn't look at. Then apple falls down the ground and he says, Eureka, I found that.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Here's a question for you. I'd like somebody to volunteer to answer my question. That I think Galileo maybe suggested this experiment, but I can't remember for sure who did it. There's something about dropping off the tower, Pizza. Not the Tower of Pizza, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And he dropped some things off the tower to see the effects of gravity. And wasn't there a feather and a metal ball or a stone? And is it possible to make the feather fall to the ground as quickly as a stone?
Yeah, we made that experiment at high school. Actually, it's about the air pressure because when you try that experiment in a vacuumed area, if there's no air that stops them or blocks them, they will fall down at the same time.
And what is that called? Can you describe in English that some kind of, there's a V word, another V word, not vacuum, but another V word, which speaks about this kind of effect of fluids and preventing things moving. And there's a measurement, begins with
volume. Volume?
Not volume, no. I'm thinking about viscosity. Have you heard this word before?
Yeah, I know.
Viscosity. And there's another word. What's the word which is related to preventing something move? Maybe, for example, if you have a hovercraft and you give it a push, it will go for a long distance without stopping, demonstrating, by the way, one of Newton's laws, which is that if an object is in motion, it will remain in motion, in uniform motion, until a force acts on it. So if you push a hovercraft, no forces are acting on it. The F word, yes, the F word. Friction. Friction, yeah. Let's try and find some words related to all of this and do some word describing. So can anybody get a word ready, scientific word, technical word, and I want you to describe it so that we all can guess it. So who's going to go first? Just tell me if you're ready with one. Say, I've got one. I'll do another one if you like. I'll do another one. My next one, while you're thinking, get thinking about your word. My next word, I won't give you the first letter. I'm just going to describe it. I used it already in the previous lesson.
Resilience.
So, for example, hold on, I haven't started yet. How do you know? Psychic.
Resilience.
Yeah, but I haven't even started describing
sorry.
it yet. I was just mentioning that I mentioned it in the previous lesson, but that was just an aside. So my word is something to do with the fact that some things, like air, have a very low reading, but some things, for example, gold, have an extremely high reading in this word. What is the word? It's to do with volume,
mass.
It's to do with mass, but it's not mass, it's not volume, it's both really.
Density.
Density, yeah.
Oh, actually, I was thinking the same word.
Density. Yeah, I was thinking about density because sometimes I feel that I'm particularly dense, but sometimes I'm not. So, Furkan, it's your turn to do one.
Oh. Can I pick a word from electricity?
Yeah, any word from electricity, science, or any. It's got to be vaguely related to science.
I don't know how to describe that, but when you use a charge in a battery and put that on a circuit without any resistance, it will go. Oh, I said that word. It was resistance.
Oh, that was your word. He cheated. He said the word. I didn't know. I've done that before. I've often used the taboo words and things. We'll do another one then.
It's hard to remember.
I'll try another one then, unless somebody else has got one. What about Terence? Would you like to try one?
No, sorry.
Are you not a real scientist?
No.
What's your field then? What are you a musician? A jazz musician?
No, I like to read a lot and watch movies. Poetry.
Poetry. Me too. I like that too. I admire Leonardo da Vinci because I would like to be like him if I possibly could, because what I admire about him is that he would be, you could imagine that he could play the saxophone 1 minute and then write a scientific thesis the next, and that is something I admire.
And they all were from, all those guys were Renaissance men, you know?
Renaissance, yeah.
Renaissance, yes. That was a golden age for the humanity, for the humankind.
Yeah. Even, did you know that we play chess sometimes on Verbling, and the rules of chess and the game of chess has not changed since it was developed in the Renaissance in Italy.
Whoa.
And I can't believe that, because you know what else is like that? Nothing in the world. We can sit down and we can watch a game and look through a game that was played that long ago, and it's just the same today, and we can even understand it all. So really, that's the Renaissance. Yeah, amazing. Who has a word then for us?
Yeah, I have.
Let's have it then.
The particle which is supposed to give mass to other particles.
A particle that gives mass to other particles.
It's an easy one.
Is it part of an atom?
Proton.
No.
Ah, so you mean it probably doesn't give any charge, it just gives mass. So I think I might know the answer.
Yeah, it's
It's
supposed to be.
Olivia.
Neutron.
Is it the neutron?
No.
It's not the neutron, I was thinking of that. So it must be the other one then. It can't be the electron because that's a tiny little thing with no mass and it's got negative charge, and it's not a proton and it's not a neutron. That's it from me then, I don't know. Does anybody have any idea? I give up.
Higgs boson.
Can you write it for me? Have you just Higgs boson? Wow, that sounds like something from
It's
modern
very
physics.
famous. In 2012, there was a famous experiment in CERN.
Ah, well, I haven't kept up to date with physics. I should do some reading, I think, because I'm very interested in physics. It's one of the things which really interests me, and that's why I particularly like astronomy, because I think astronomy leads us into all areas of physics, and that's why we've got connections between Einstein and Hawking and the universe and astronomy. I think it all ties together quite nicely.
I think the theory of Higgs boson was put forward by an British scientist, Peter Higgs.
Yeah, you know, I agree with what Bill Gates said on TED.com, if you saw that, when he spoke about education. And the problem in Britain and America is that we have, it's not a problem at the top 25% or the top quartile, as he said. They get good education and the top universities are fantastic, but the bottom end is not good. And sometimes I would think we need to address this problem, because in China, for example, they have a very good kind of level playing field, and everybody treats education seriously and works hard and hopefully achieves something. What do you think about your country? Do you think education is only for the best education is only really available to a minority, or do you think it's a better situation for most?
Me?
Yeah.
No, in my country, education system is not so good.
Well,
it's not available to most of the people, and illiteracy rate is very high. Literacy rate is very low.
The literacy rate in Britain, I think, it might be one of the highest in the world, because it's just a few people. There is an adult literary problem with a few, very small minority, but literacy is pretty good here. But the problem is that a lot of people, like Bill Gates said about America, from poor areas and bad schools, they don't really get what they should have. Anyway, we'll have to talk about that another time. So class is over right now, and thanks for coming, everybody. I hope to catch you again.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Leon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Terence, and everybody.
Thank you, Leon.
Bye-bye.